That the judiciary, although the third branch of the democratic government, is only like a head without a hand. Whatever requirement the judges want can rarely be taken care of in Parliament. Even to the extent of getting the budgets, although we put up the budget, but very often nobody really has to fight for us. But to have a good rapport with the government, you need to have the Prime Minister who has an understanding of the law. We have no problem when Tengku Abdul was the first Prime Minister, followed by Tun Razak, then followed by Tun Husin. Because these are lawyers, they understand the requirements of the law, the requirement of the judges. So we got no problem. Unfortunately, during my time, I got a minister, prominent minister, who really does not know the law very much, except to him the law is what is passed in Parliament. The only one law, only Parliament. He doesn't understand the judge-made law. To them, judge-made law means an interference with the executive. The present crisis can be recalled as a second judicial crisis. If by definition, judiciary means an independent judiciary, an incorruptible one, and its neutrality, we don't have it. Yes. 2 weeks ago, His Highness the Sultan of Perak expressed his nostalgia about the years in which the Malaysian judiciary enjoyed the golden era. I too, being a judge and held the office of the Lord President, cannot help but share the feeling of nostalgia about what has happened to our judiciary since the 1988. Now it all started like this. We have got 2 cases at that time in around about 1990 or something like that. 1980 or 85, there were 2 cases concerning the Wall Street journalists. Yes. And these 2 journalists wrote very long article critical of a certain minister. And this, of course, article didn't go very well with the government. What had happened? The immigration withdrew the visa. When the visa was withdrawn, there was a challenge in court. Because naturally, because the procedure of withdrawing the visa was not in accordance with the law, what we call the natural justice, so the government gave a ruling. I mean, the court gave a ruling against the government. That raised the anger of the government against the judiciary. Since then, we have got speeches made by the Prime Minister leveling accusations against the judiciary for interfering with the executive. I try to keep quiet, but because of the demand of my colleagues, I occasionally to come up to reply to those accusations which have been leveled against us. Then the matter went further until the UMNO General Assembly in 1987, whereby 11 members of UMNO challenged the legality of that election. And you know what happened? The matter came to court. You know, the High Court held UMNO was illegal. And from there was an appeal to the Supreme Court. At that time we didn't have the Court of Appeal. It went up to the Supreme Court. I then try to deal with this matter in a very proper manner so that everybody, every judge on the Supreme Court should have a share in it. So therefore we had 10 judges of the Supreme Court at that time, including myself as a law president. One of the 10 of the judges was due to retire. So I left him out. So I empaneled 9 judges with me as the president. But while the case was pending, you know what happened? I was suspended. And during my suspension, a colleague of mine took over as acting law president. And despite the fact that judges were really solid behind me, but the acting law president did everything in order to ensure that the government suspension should remain a suspension, that I should be dismissed. Because in the end, 5 of my colleagues were suspended, resulting in two of them being dismissed together with me. The other 3 was restored. And what has happened was, one of the best judges who were dismissed together with me, the late Tan Sri Wan Sulaiman, and the other one is Datuk Georgia. He's still alive. I met him last year. It's a very, very sad thing for me to say. He cried, and I too cried. And the Black Council at that time was taking the matter up in order to revive the matter. But unfortunately, as usual, the government say, the ministers say, we don't have new evidence. They need new evidence. What new evidence is required? I do not understand it. Nobody could understand it. Same thing when you want to change the judiciary, to repair the damage done to the judiciary, the government say it must come from the judiciary itself. I have already explained the judiciary is no way to change it themselves. If the government was prepared to interfere in 1988 judicial crisis, which brought it to really to the present state of affairs, the government has got a duty, as you say, to re-interfere in order to repair the damage and bring up to say that the reforms of the judiciary should come to the judiciary, I should say, is really a red herring, to use that expression. So as I said, the whole thing becomes a duty on the part of the government and becomes a necessity on the part of the citizens to see the judiciary which they want to. Because every one of us here are really potential litigants in the court. Yes. Maybe some of you already having cases before.